welcome to the Odd Topic Podcast. My name is Brett Beckerman, and today I'm joined by my host, Luke Hawkins.
Hello.
Today we're going to be talking about superstitions, and a little bit more specifically, South African or Southern African superstitions.
Well, mine's kind of Northern African.
I thought yours was Namibia, man.
Mine's kind of Southern African.
Off to the greatest start.
I am terrible at geography, just to put that out there. Absolutely horrible. But I'm going to try my best.
So we are going to cover, and this is purely because of, in our horror podcast, I spoke a little bit about the Tokoloshe vibe in Ep4 and what I thought was, but kind of maybe isn't. And I realized after that, I actually know very little about the little gremlin dude that kind of haunts our country. So I thought this might be a great opportunity to do a little bit of digging and, figure out some things. So, I'm going to kick it off. The first topic.
Let's go.
Let's do this. So, as you already know, my topic for today is the Tokoloshe. So I grew up in the Transkei, which for people from South Africa will know. But those that aren't from South Africa, the Transkei is kind of like a more coastal area of South Africa.
Absolute shithole.
It is a great place, but a very, very terrible place if you don't know where to go. So it is definitely the deep dark woods of South Africa. But I grew up there, and spent a lot of my time
by
there.
The way, it's definitely not a shithole.
You got to know where to go, Luke. It's all about the great places in the Transkei.
Just Brett, from all of our friends and stuff, gets the piss pulled out of him with this.
Yeah.
Everyone makes fun of him for being from the Transkei.
It's like the most rural place in South Africa, basically. Growing up there, I kind of spent a lot of my time hearing about this little dude called the Tokoloshe and all the myths around it and all the weird things people do to get away from him and to get cured from him. So I knew what he was and what he did, but I never knew the backstory. So for those of you who are probably outside of South Africa who don't know what the Tokoloshe is he's basically this dwarf-like gremlin who taunts you at night. He is like, I don't even want to say like an evil
really
spirit.
Creepy little dude.
He's super creepy, and he's kind of that like bad luck omen that if he's there, he's gonna cause some sort of shit that's gonna affect you and make your day horrible. So it was that superstition that kind of arose when if something bad was happening, it was his fault. And at night he's gonna come and he's gonna cut your hair, or he's gonna like burn your feet.
Too sinister.
Cut
your hair.
I'd still be super freaked out if I woke up and like, my head is cut off. Yeah. I mean, if people lost money, they blamed the Tokoloshe. If their house burnt down, it was his fault. So there's a lot of like bad superstition around him, and all the bad things are kind of always his fault. So I did a bit of digging to find out a little bit more of like what the locals think of him versus what the actual origin theories are on how he kind of came about, because I mean he's just always been there. Any sort of like African tribe here knows about him. He actually started in KZN with the Zulu tribe, which I thought he was definitely like a Xhosa thing.
Yeah, me too. Actually.
Yeah, so
I must add, I mean, even to this day, the sort of native people are the right word, but like the original Africans are petrified of the Tokoloshe. Even now in the 21st century,
it's a real thing.
It's a proper thing.
Yeah. I mean, like there's newspapers that cover them. Like they've got their own section of the newspaper, which like specifically concentrates on readers who phone in and like ask questions about him. I mean, it doesn't really happen. I mean, like you don't go to like Scotland and someone phones him like, "Oh, Nessie did this today." Like it's everyone talks about it, but it's not an actual thing.
Yeah.
So the origins of him in the more kind of superstitious aspect is he is a little gremlin or dwarf-like guy, and he was created when he had a hot poker thrust into the crown of his head. He is only calmed by eating pebbles and drinking water, and he is purely created or purely thought to just cause mischief. In the kind of Zulu and Xhosa traditions, they I mean, as I spoke about in that horror podcast, is they put their beds on bricks because the bricks are said to be higher than what he is, and he can't do anything to you. So it's that one way of getting kind of out of his reach.
Puts into perspective how short and little this dude is.
Yeah. He's tiny. There aren't actually any that I found kind of dimensions of him.
Yeah, I mean, it's a myth. It varies in size depending on who's telling the story.
But the general thought is, put your bed on bricks, you'll be higher than what he is, and you'll be fine. So that is their theory. And I mean, if you go into any of like traditional houses, that is how their beds are. It's actually crazy.
Yeah.
I know from when I was younger growing up, and you'd go into like, I don't know, like the chief headman of the area that we kind of grew up in, like all the beds were up on bricks and they had tiny windows that were really high off the ground.
I wonder if that's because the Tokoloshe, or they just really don't like their kids. Like stop them from waking them up.
Well, I'm pretty sure like the Tokoloshe is like the evil version of like Santa or the Tooth Fairy. Like, if you're naughty, he gonna get you.
He doesn't just take your milk and cookies.
Yeah.
Takes pieces of your hair as well.
The reason I actually brought up the hair cutting thing is actually not because that's what he does. I mean, it maybe is, but now the way of curing yourself from the Tokoloshe, or like getting rid of the evil spirit, is by visiting a sangoma, which is almost like a witch doctor. So visiting a sangoma is like a natural traditional healer, where they kind of like smush up some herbs and give that to you, rather than going and getting your medication from hospital or whatever.
I always had the understanding, probably the incorrect understanding, but a witch doctor is like the bad version and the sangoma is the good version. Is that nonsense? Is it the same thing, or?
There is a difference. There is a difference between a sangoma and a witch doctor. I do have it around about just somewhere. But no, not actually. The witch doctor and the sangoma is the same thing. Sangoma is the actual traditional phrasing of a witch doctor. But they are two different types. So you get a witch doctor, which is sangoma, and then nganya or nyanga, which is a herbalist.
Okay.
So a witch doctor can like cast voodoo spells on you.
Yes.
Where the nyanga is actually going to give you like herbal meds.
That's the difference I'm thinking about. The one does some dodgy shit with bones and sacrifice. The other one is like,
which is still,
so much.
sangoma is still that. It's still a witch doctor.
Yeah.
And I mean, their traditions are hectic. They like to actually become a witch doctor or sangoma. I mean, let's get real. There's no degrees involved here. There's no like 4 or 5 years in medical school. No. You basically choose to be a sangoma. You go and visit one, and they will tell you if they think your aura is up to standard. Yeah. And you go through a whole bunch of trials and tests, and you have to get your like face painted and do like these weird dances.
It's actually pretty very interesting. It's very cool.
So interesting. So our domestic worker that actually works at our farm and all that, and basically like known her for like majority of my life. She's family. She's from the Transkei, and it's so interesting talking to her and getting her kind of views, because she's actually busy becoming a sangoma right now.
Oh wow.
But I mean, it's interesting, and she's not doing it for the malicious point of view or for the point of view of like kind of how can you call it, taking advantage of other people. She's doing it from the point of view of she kind of wants to become more involved in that aspect of her tradition, and she kind of wants to go through those steps and become a sangoma and maybe try and help other people. But she's definitely not going to cast any voodoo spells on anyone. I think once she actually like passed and was classified as sangoma, I don't know if she is yet, but she passed some sort of milestone. She said she was awarded a cheetah as her companion. Awesome. And when she sleeps at night, her cheetah sleeps in the bed next to her.
Like a legit cheetah?
No.
Like a
metaphorical, spiritual cheetah. I wish she had a real cheetah. I was going to say, I'd be slightly worried.
One is a bit more cooler.
Like, who needs 5 years medical school? If you come to Sangoma and get a free cheetah.
Magical cheetah.
So her cheetah kind of lies next to her and protects her, and it's kind of the thing that looks over her, which I don't know, I find is very, very cool. So if you think that you are being terrorized by the Tokoloshe, it could be because you've done something bad, or somebody has basically sent them to you. So it's almost like a thing of vengeance.
It seems to be fairly like kind of a thing people do. They'll visit a witch doctor, and they seem to like, I've heard about that, like throwing lightning or like wishing lightning upon another person.
It's like spotting.
Yeah, it is also quite strange, and but people truly believe this stuff, like hectically. And there's no, you can't. I wouldn't say bring science involved. I'm not trying to down anyone on their beliefs, but there's no arguing. It's like, no, this is legit.
Yeah,
like, people do this, So, quite interesting.
That is the main thing of superstition, is there's no right or wrong way of it. There's no logic. There's no science. It's just like that something's wrong with me, and I blame this. Or if I do this is going to happen. I mean, some people
when a belief in it is so strong, it's real to them. So
yeah, exactly. So, I mean, like, it's actually quite an evil thing if you think about it.
Yeah.
Like, someone does something, like, I mean, someone comes and like ruins your crops. I mean, if you're growing fruit and veg outside or whatever, because I mean that is something that happens quite a lot out there. And you just go to Sangoma and you kind of spot them with the Tokoloshe and just hope bad things happen to them.
I'm going to stick this little midget on you.
Yeah. I mean, they know how bad it can be. So it's hectic. Basically any bad thing that can happen is the root of the cause is him. And apparently a few of the remedies and that of curing you from him.
Yeah.
So if you think, okay, the Tokoloshe is busy attacking me, I can't sleep at night, I'm getting horrible nightmares, whatever, you go to Sangoma, you say, listen, cure me. The Sangomas kind of use it as a little bit of a bargaining tool sometimes as well, because if you don't pay them, they kind of tell you, hey, I'm going to spot him. It's also like a way of getting return clients.
Yeah.
Like if a guy comes to him and say, well, I can't sleep, they'll be like, oh, Tokoloshe, okay, you need to come back to me 3 to 4 times, pay me so much money. And it's a way for them to...
how is this different to a normal doctor these days anyway?
Exactly.
Same nonsense.
So it's a way for them to kind of like build, I don't know, a business, I guess.
Yeah.
And what they kind of claim is one of the more prevalent fixes is they visit your house. They make sure that obviously beds on bricks, windows off the ground, like there's no entrance. They also bless you to make sure that you have no more bad omens, and they then go and visit the Tokoloshe on your behalf. They ensure that the hair's out of his eyes, so they cut his hair, so that he can clearly see food and water, so that he can eat that and be on his way.
Okay,
so
that's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's definitely like this is what he needs and he'll be all right kind of thing.
You actually have to take care of him, otherwise he goes crazy.
Exactly. So I think the whole fact of like this is like an like African view on witches. It's witchcraft. It's magical abilities and all that kind of stuff. So you kind of have to go through these methods of curing that and fixing it in the house. So that is the actual how can you put it, background of him in the eyes of the more traditional locals in the Zulu, Xhosa, Swahili. It's actually throughout the whole of South Africa.
It also makes me think, so before, like, everyone was so intermingled as they are now, and every tribe was properly split up and stuff, they all had the same legend of the same Tokoloshe. Like, that always gets me. It's like, well, what is it really a coincidence, or was there something? There
was something, which I did a bit of digging and I found out, because I thought the same thing. How is it possible that all these tribes all have the exact same concept? And one thing that was similar to all of them is bed on bricks and sleep on the floor would kind of result in death, because to them, like, if they woke up in the morning and someone was dead in the house, the Tokoloshe killed him. Like that was the reason for it. There was no other reason. So I kind of did a bit of digging and a little bit of searching to find out, we're in the 21st century now. Okay. Surely there's some sort of theories as to what that is.
Yeah.
And there are a few things that came. Well, there's one thing that came up, which I thought was very, very interesting. So if you think about it now, in these huts and kind of homes in the Transkei, and obviously out of the Transkei to the Zulus and to the Swahilis and all that, they're these small rondavels, and the insulation is terrible. So winter nights, super cold.
Yeah.
It's a very common thing for them to have fires burning near or inside their home while they're sleeping. So they'll have a fire burning in the middle of the room, and everyone sleeps around the fire to stay warm.
Oh, this is inside.
Inside. So it's very, very big thing, especially back in the day. Now, not so much, obviously a little bit more wiser, but especially back in the day, fires inside were heat. And I mean, it was never an understanding of, okay, fire equals toxins take out oxygen, you can't breathe, you die. So if you think about it, the whole concept of bed on bricks, it kind of makes sense. I mean, if you think about a family sleeping in a house, they've got a fire burning, and they've got the mom and dad sleeping on a bed, and all their kids on the floor.
Yeah.
Fire creates carbon dioxide. Carbon dioxide rises, removes the oxygen from the house. Or not from the house. It basically removes oxygen from the lowest point. Yeah. So all the kids suffocate in the night. Parents still alive because they were on their beds.
On the bed, yeah.
So what can you blame that on? A small little devil child that came in here.
Yeah, but he didn't reach us because we're out of the way. You know?
Exactly. So they were higher. They now are kind of out of harm's way. And it makes sense.
Yeah.
I mean, the fact that carbon dioxide is going to sink. Yeah. It's heavier than air. So that layer of the floor is kind of going to be covered in unbreathable air. You're sleeping, so it's kind of almost like a silent killer.
It's like when you... What do the people do to commit suicide? You pump your car.
Your fumes.
Same thing, depletes the oxygen.
Yeah. So I mean, it's really morbid, and it's a horrible thing, but it makes sense that is a thing that happened, and it probably still happens a lot because it's cold outside, so close all the windows. But the people that are highest up are the ones that are going to survive. So it's nice to see a modern take on this kind of superstition to like kind of put some sense to it and some understanding.
I mean, they took that theory of theirs and they ran a bit wild with it though, with all the other stuff that comes out.
They saw it as a little bit of an excuse as well. I mean, so in South Africa, there is a newspaper called the Daily Sun. Daily Sun loves themselves a good Tokoloshe story. They are the ones I spoke about earlier that have a column in the newspaper that basically is purely for like everything Tokoloshe. They have their own in-house witch doctor in Sangoma at the newspaper.
That's amazing.
It's incredible. It's incredible.
Why am I not subscribed to this?
Yeah. And the funniest thing ever is they have these like big newspaper articles on signboards like littered on the streets and that. So when you drive around, that's Daily Sun, man.
You see the most ridiculous headlines.
And now all these headlines are from people phoning in and being like, hey, the Tokoloshe keeps stealing my food or whatever. And the person will phone in and they will tell their story, and the Sangoma will tell them how to cure that. So the Sangoma will say, okay, well, you got to do this, and that'll kind of get rid of them. But the stories are amazing. I went through a few and I jotted a few down. And these are headlines. This is a newspaper throughout South Africa, and these are the headlines. Tokoloshe steals fancy dresses. Tokoloshe wants my pap. So pap in South Africa is like a porridge, basically. Yeah. Tokoloshe choir keeps me up at night.
Tokoloshe choir. And I imagine like pews outside the window of these Tokoloshe
Oh man, I got something of that too. That's great. Oh man. And the last one was Tokoloshe tears my panties.
Oh yeah. Tokoloshe did that.
Yeah. So that's what I'm saying. Like, it's all excuses. So you wake up in the night, your husband says, "Hey, why are there holes on your brooks, man?" And it's an excuse. Oh well, I mean, it was the Tokoloshe. No, exactly. I wasn't cheating on you. So they'll phone in, and like the guy at Daily Sun will be like, okay, the Tokoloshe is stealing your pup. Okay, you need to make him more and leave it on the floor, and he'll come and eat that up at night, and it's an offering. And the people will do that, and somehow it kind of comes right.
Tokoloshe, the world's greatest scapegoat.
Yeah, literally. Like, if people are doing bad in business, they blame it. If people lose money, they blame it. Also, again, if good things happen to them, sometimes it's like, oh well, it's because I went to the witch doctor and now good things are happening. It's mind over matter. It's your mind telling you that, hey, I'm benefiting, or I'm like kind of losing out because of this entity and this little creature. But yeah, he's South Africa's greatest scapegoat.
The Tokoloshe choir, man. I wonder what kind of songs they're singing.
I will eat your pop tonight.
That was a weird laugh. Sorry.
So, I mean, there's nothing greater than these like kind of growing up with these stories around and these like.
Especially you. I mean, you heard it all.
Yeah, and I mean, you go and you visit the people too, and you see the sangomas, and I mean, being a young kid, like 10, 11 years old, and you see this crazy man walking down the road, like bones like strung from his clothing, white face like painted, crazy hair,
super
dreadlocks.
ominous,
Yeah, I mean, when you see it, you're like, what the hell did I just walk in on? And then you kind of hear the stories and all that, and obviously everything. Like if you ever visit South Africa and you ever find yourself in like a situation where you're surrounded by, or you're in the Transkei, or you are around the Xhosa or the Zulu or whatever, they are the greatest storytellers that you'll ever meet in your life. I remember at school when we learned Xhosa as a language, our one teacher was the most amazing storyteller. Like we kind of learned nothing grammatical. It was more just like stories and verbal talking or whatever. Because that is how their whole tradition was kind of born. It's there's no manuscripts, there's no like history books. It's all word of mouth, and it's stories told around like a fire. Which is amazing. And I mean, when I was growing up, that's what I was subjected to, and it's like a cool version of history that you'll never get anywhere else.
That's one thing that like they've got right. The sort of more traditional households these days is unfortunately it's because a lot of them are quite poor and underprivileged, but you kind of forced to all sit together and just talk shit and share your stories, drink and eat around a fire, you know.
That's all you can do.
But it's also nice. I mean, we've lost touch with our. I mean, I'm not going to go down this rabbit hole now, but we have lost touch as families and as friends, as communities. And that gets to me now as I'm getting a bit older. I tend to think about that a lot, you know. And when I was a kid, it was the worst thing ever. I don't want to sit with my family and talk, you know. God damn, I want to play some Pokemon or whatever. But now, like, it's so important, and I think the more traditional people have really nailed the whole community aspect of life.
Like they, I mean, community is everything for them.
Yeah.
Which I agree. It actually is amazing. Nothing more much to say about the Tokoloshe, and I think getting back to like their history books not being documented and written and all that. This is a very hard topic to research because I mean there's nothing much on the internet about him. There are a few pictures like strewn around the internet, and you can kind of get some brief history and all that. And then thankfully, when you dig a little bit deeper, you find some more modern kind of searches of it. But the Daily Sun definitely helps. But
I found out when I was a good few years younger, a friend of mine had a book about African myths and legends, and it had the Tokoloshe in it. And it was maybe not safe for work, but basically it also described the Tokoloshe's tail as also being his penis. And he would also use that to commit mischief by sticking it up girls' dresses and whatever.
Tearing panties.
And tearing panties. I was like, whoa, okay, I'm 10, what is this?
Oh man. I'm just going through the Daily Sun articles here. It gives me a lot of enjoyment. I don't know why. I just find them so interesting. And especially the way that they're written. So this is the actual article for the Tokoloshe once map up. And the one excerpt, and I kind of feel bad for the dude because it sounds like he actually is being super tormented. And he said he's named the creature Ukya, and Ukya means food. So
great pronunciation.
Yeah, thank you. I hope it was.
We really need an African friend to come in here.
And his one excerpt here is, I get a beating and hear a voice whispering, Okukya, with warm breath, and the moment I forgot to dish up for the creature. I mean, that sounds
It's
terrifying.
fucking creepy,
That's
dude.
creepy.
The way that you phrased it, I'm like, I legit got a good scare there.
Thanks, man. But I mean, like people go through like hectic torment.
Why are there no
for this.
good horror movies with the Tokoloshe in it?
That's why I thought 8 was based on the Tokoloshe, because it is actually the perfect setup for it.
Yeah. Well, 8 too.
Yeah, 8. Not 8. Yeah.
Yeah.
In all like my searching and all that on the internet, I mean, as I said, there's not too much out there that kind of explains the Tokoloshe and goes through his whole kind of life and all that. But I found a lot of kind of excerpts of people talking about it and stuff like that and their own personal experiences, which some of them creep me the hell out. But I found one which just explains it perfectly in how people kind of experience the Tokoloshe. And this is one of the excerpts. I've seen cases where the Tokoloshe is in complete control of a person. It inhibits and controls them. People black out and wake up naked in the middle of a field when the Tokoloshe decides to take a rest. They have no idea how they got there or what they've been doing, in some cases for days prior.
Having a bender.
A bender of note. He urges you to reach out as soon as you can if things start going a little pear-shaped for you and your dreams become twisted. So, nightmares of hell. You'll know when a Tokoloshe is looking to get you. You'll need to seek the help of a Sangoma quickly. There are a few options you have. The Sangoma can speak with your ancestors and ask them to protect you. This will be done in a session where you would pay and burn incense. I know certain people use the blood of a black chicken to cleanse a person's body. I don't use a black one, and I never kill a chicken. I take just enough blood to place on my client's face and body, and then set the chicken free. I ask about the bricks, he says. It does work, which is why so many people do it. The scary thing is the Tokoloshe can be amped up or made to work harder to get inside a person. So that was like point of view from a Sangoma being interviewed about this. And I mean, if you're in your like community and all that, and you chat to one of them, growing up, I mean, we're in our lives, we grow up and we hear about the Tooth Fairy and Santa and the Easter
all the
Bunny,
nice things,
all the great things. I mean, you don't hear of like
those poor kids.
Yeah. So
what's interesting about that as well is you said they're black chicken.
Yeah.
And in my story as well, also obviously African myth coming up, I also have a sacrificial black animal, not a chicken.
I think it's like those. I mean,
like it specifies they're black. You know, it has to be the black color.
Again, superstitions always like revolve around things that are different or unique, and I mean maybe that's the thing. But yeah, let's hear what you got.
All right. So this is pretty great one, I must say. I quite do love this legend. I have witnessed some of the culture around this legend myself. But yeah, so you may have heard this one before, Brett. In fact, I'm sure you have. It's quite well known. It's an African legend, not South African.
So Southern African.
Southern African. Yeah.
Let's stick to it a little.
Why I said Northern African earlier like an idiot. It's kind of up sort of on the tip of the Congo, the bottom tip of the Congo, which I think classifies as Central African. Maybe?
Yeah, about Central African, yeah.
So it's kind of Central to Southern Africa. Anyway, so I'm talking about, of course, the Nyami Nyami.
I have not heard too much about this, so I'm very intrigued.
Well, it's also known as the Zambezi River God.
Okay, I do know about that.
So...
Okay.
Right, before I delve into the myth itself, let me just set the stage a little bit. So, the Zambezi River God obviously will reside in the Zambezi River. And the Zambezi River is one of Africa's great rivers. I think it's the fourth largest in all of Africa. It begins in Zambia, where it flows out through Angola, into Zambia again and cuts down to the border, where it flows along the border that joins Zambia to Namibia, then Botswana, and then Zimbabwe, where it then cuts through Mozambique and exits into the Indian Ocean. So you have all your heavy hitter African countries being nailed by one river.
Yeah, that's spreading itself quite thick there.
There's actually this really cool part of the river. It's like a crossroads or like a junction where Namibia, Zimbabwe, Botswana, and Zambia all meet at sort of like a central point on the border, I guess, where from like a drone photo of the river, you can literally see all 4 countries touching each other.
No way, that's actually pretty cool.
The one river, yeah, it's very cool. It's also, of course, home to the famous Victoria Falls, one of the world's largest waterfalls.
That's based in Zim, isn't it? Zimbabwe.
Yeah. So what, obviously this isn't about the Victoria Falls itself, but it's this really cool name. This I need your pronunciation skills. So, let me give this one a go. It's got an awesome name in the language of the Lozi people, who are native to the region, and it is Mosiuatunya. I don't know if you can pronounce that, guy.
I have no idea. See, I speak Xhosa, dude. I don't know these other weird languages.
Yeah, but you got the twang for it.
That's all about the twang. Wait, where am I reading? Oh, there. No. Which is Mosiuatunya.
Something like that.
Mosiuatunya. Yeah. Don't quote us on any languages outside of South Africa, please.
AKA the smoke that thunders, which is an awesome descriptive name for waterfall. How cool is that? I was like, that's great. I had to include that bit of trivia in this. It's really great.
That's fantastic.
But the whole region is pretty cool. I mean, there's vast plains and jungle and everything. It's kind of deep Africa. Anyway, onto the legend itself, or the river god himself, the mighty Nyami Nyami. So he or she or it's omnipotent, I suppose. The river god takes on a few forms in different fables, I guess, depending on who's telling the story. Whilst primarily being described as a massive serpent-like creature, it's also been described as having a fish head or a dragon's head, sometimes even just being a giant whirlpool, or just your old kind of regular dragon. But the most affluent depiction of it is that of a snake with a serpentine or dragon head with really large fangs, and its body is twisted in a downward spiral like that of a whirlpool. So you'll often see that depiction in necklaces and on walking sticks.
I was about to say, I'm pretty sure I've seen that whole kind of depiction.
I had a bunch of these necklaces. It was the coolest thing when I went traveling, because I went to Botswana and Namibia. Although I didn't really go near the river there, but and they all were selling. It's a bit of a tourist attraction now. Is the famous Nyami Nyami. Everyone can buy these cool little pendants. The end of the tail would always snap. It used to piss me off.
Oh.
But they were very cool.
It's bad omens, man.
Yeah. But yeah, they're really cool. I mean, it's always beautiful carvings, like out of wood, and really, really great stuff. It's quite cool how this legend is so intertwined with the culture of the area as well. And despite some of the sort of scary appearances and depictions of the beast or the god, Nyami Nyami is actually believed to be a god of good fortune and a protector of the people.
Oh.
So he's not a malicious god like your friend.
Yeah, I was about to say, man, he's a dick.
Well, I wouldn't say that Nyami Nyami is particularly a nice guy, as we'll see.
He just doesn't like strangle you in your sleep.
Yeah, no, he's not malicious. He's just vengeful, I suppose. But yeah, so whilst the legend of the Nyami Nyami predates the story that made it popular, it did gain popularity after a certain event in the 1950s. In the Zambezi Valley, the Tonga people, or Batonga people, who lay claim to the Nyami Nyami legend, by the way, they lived a peaceful life away from the rest of the world. They built their houses along the banks of the river and relied on the river for survival, which obviously provides water and food. They used to farm along the banks as well. However, colonialism took its place in the area, and construction of a hydroelectric dam started. This dam taps into the Great Flowing River, and the valley had to be evacuated as part of the dam's construction. And the poor Tonga people were forcibly removed from their homes. As colonialism does. It's going to do what it's going to do. So this dam also encompassed what the Tonga people believed to be the Nyami Nyami's home. These Tonga people lived sort of in one valley, one kind of gorge valley, which was a portion of the river which basically made sort of a great place to build a dam. It was a section of the dam where sort of the water could pool up, and I'm not a dam engineer, but yeah, apparently
engineers?
It was a really good place, but these dudes were in the way, but they were like, stuff it, we're going to build it anyway. So the this dam, encompassed the sort of house or home or, I don't know, cave of where they believed that the Nyami Nyami to reside. It was actually kind of around it's really big rock that jutted out of the gorge, which basically in the way of where they wanted to build the dam. So they stuffed it up, basically constructed around this place, and the locals were all very upset about it. Obviously, evicted from their homes. The guys are ruining their culture, their tradition. They've now angered the Nyami Nyami.
Yeah.
Anyway, sure as nuts, in a few months, basically a huge torrential flood came through the area and destroyed all the partly finished construction. And murdered, not murdered, it was natural occurrence, and killed a whole bunch of workers there and everything. The locals obviously believed this to be retribution from the great Nyami Nyami. This didn't stop the construction, however, and the project continued. What was interesting, though, is scientists kind of describe this flood as being a freak flood, unlikely to be seen in thousands of years, and it's not going to occur again within another 1,000 years or so. And sure as enough, the very next year, the same thing happened.
No way, seriously?
Exact same thing happened, same dam, everything. Again, destroying it. And the locals are like, yeah, well, you're fucking with Nyami Nyami now, boy.
It's what you get.
But after that, I mean, they still, again, didn't stop construction, and it hasn't happened since. I think it was 1960 when they completed the project. But anyway, so that obviously fueled the sort of Nyami Nyami myth, They've incurred the wrath of Nyami Nyami. Nyami Nyami's reacted, destroyed the constructions, and killed people. But that's not all. Interestingly enough, after the first incident, many of the workers who had lost their lives also mysteriously vanished, i.e. their bodies never turned up.
Oh.
Which is quite odd. I mean, obviously lots of water, they could have sunk or something, but bodies typically float or they'd be washed up somewhere. Bodies just were not found whatsoever. So family of the deceased came to the area to kind of look for the bodies, and they were told by locals that the Nyami Nyami had taken them. Sort of his whole thing was going back to where he resides, the sort of area where they say he lives, it was known as that because it was quite dangerous waters in the area, and a lot of people would maybe swim and drown or lose their lives and kind of never be seen because they get sucked under. And that was apparently the Nyami Nyami taking them to lay with them for eternity in the underworld.
Okay. Almost another case of like an explanation for death, or
exactly
a good omen for death that like makes you feel a little bit more at ease.
Yeah,
like
one of the two.
Yeah.
It never seemed vetted for that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Except for obviously this case.
Yeah, they got vengeance.
So the family came to look for them. But yeah, only information they could get was not the Nyami Nyami had taken their bodies. They're never coming back. So they were then pointed in the direction of some Tonga elders, who basically said there is a way to get the bodies back, but the Nyami Nyami would require a sacrifice.
Dang.
As the beast believes in sort of the law of exchange. So they had to get a black calf and had to be slaughtered and floated along the river as an offering. Sure as nuts, the next day the calf had disappeared and the workers' bodies were lying on the banks of the river.
No, sure not. Really?
Apparently.
Yeah, okay, I guess. Apparently.
Yeah. So
those dude hid those bodies.
Yeah. Look, the calf disappearing is not strange because the area is quite well known to have lots of sort of been infested with crocodiles.
I'm pretty sure, yeah, crocodiles, piranhas.
Yeah, so I mean, a floating dead calf, blood in the water, of course, it's going to be destroyed. But the bodies appearing is still unexplained to this day, according to the article that I read. Yeah, so it's quite unique.
Yeah, it is.
But I don't know how much the end part is true or not. But it's a really cool legend nonetheless, and it's lived on since that event and before that event as well. But yeah, it really rose to popularity, and I think that whole event, which by the way was the Carib Dam, if you want to Google it or whatever.
Was that the dam name after they put the hydro plant in?
After they put the hydro plant
in.
Yeah. Carib means, I can't remember, it has a meaning, but basically it isn't the name of the area, it's the actual dam itself. I mean, and it does still exist to this day, making power for the area in which everyone uses. So was it really so bad? Who knows?
Yeah, it had good means, just a terrible start.
Yeah, I mean, what they did to the people. And of course they're going to justify any kind of accident. It is it's quite a coincidence, though. I'm not gonna lie that it happened, and then twice. Such a freak of nature flood that has never happened since. It happened 2 years in a row at the same time as they were trying to build this dam.
Yeah,
it's like, so obviously that fuels the whole spark. Revenge of the Nyami Nyami.
All superstition needs is like some concise, proper proof.
But so Nyami Nyami is pretty much a badass. He seems to be
sounds like it.
All knowing in a sense that, I mean, he just knows what's happening in the area. He knows what's wrong, what's right. You don't fuck with him, he won't fuck with you. And if you want something back from him, give him a sacrifice.
Kind of like he knows where.
So the whole thing was that he was protecting the people.
Yes,
he is the protector. He's not necessarily good, not necessarily bad. He's just the protector of the people.
Yeah, I mean, with Africa being kind of like riddled with so many massive rivers and all that. I mean, you got the Nile, you got the Zambezi and all that. And the amount of animals, I mean, let's get real. Africa has a ton of water animals. Yeah. So I think for them to put superstition and like law to the rivers is, I mean, it has to happen. I mean, without modern medicine and without modern discoveries, back in the day, how else do you explain things? Yeah. I mean, that's pretty much how like religion was almost like kind of created. It's unexplainable events that you have to put logic to. Yeah. So it kind of makes sense that they would come up with these theories and these laws and these stories and told down from generation to generation. Obviously, broken telephone, things are going to get a little bit skewed over time, which I think just fuels
it 1960s wasn't a long time ago, dude.
I'm talking about before that. But like the leading up to the 1960s.
Yes, I know for sure.
I agree. That's actually pretty recent.
They had the whole legend way before that.
Yeah. So. And the older...
It's always a snake when it comes to the river.
It is. Serpent.
Obviously because of the way that a river kind of snakes, I suppose.
Correct, yeah.
But I mean... Are there any water snakes there in Africa?
Anaconda.
You don't get anaconda there.
Dude, it's not, I guess that's Amazon, sure. But
yeah.
Every time I think about like the Zambezi, I just for some reason always picture anaconda.
I'm sure there are definitely African water snakes and stuff like that. But.
No, I think the biggest thing in the Zambezi in that is sharks. I mean, no, sorry. Biggest thing in Zambezi is crocodiles.
Yeah. Well, you do get the Zambezi shark.
I know, but it's not so prevalent high up. It's more kind of
Mozambique side.
Yeah. Like close to the shore and all that. But yeah, I mean, crocodiles, piranhas, that kind of thing. But also, again, I could probably be thinking of the Amazon.
You're confusing continents here.
They're all the same, man. It's jungle with a river.
Jungle with a river and a bit of...
and a really cool story about it.
And giant snakes, apparently. So, yeah. But yeah, Nyami Nyami, super cool.
It's actually a very, very cool, like, kind of...
There were a few more stories that I found as well. Just that the one of the dam is the most popular one.
Yeah.
And the most kind of believable. It's very recent. These events are documented. They did happen.
I think that's also why, like, the events were documented. Okay, other than after the sacrifice, the people's bodies rocking up. Yeah. I mean, take that for what you want.
Yeah. I read like one article that mentioned it. Could be complete hearsay.
But still, I mean, all these theories, like, you kind of have to take what you can find and
especially like
how you want.
I don't know if it's just me, but with the Tokoloshe and the Nyami Nyami, like they aren't like, I don't see them as cryptids. I don't see them as like, oh, these things could exist like a Bigfoot. You know, I see this is definitely just myth.
Yeah,
this is superstition.
It's superstition. It's myth. It's purely that. I mean, all the others. There's first-hand stories, sure, but there's no like omen about them. There's no like protection or whatever. Yeah. It's cryptid animal versus like law. If you want to call it.
You don't see people going around trying to hunt the Tokoloshe today.
Yeah, exactly.
Hey YouTube, today we're gonna hunt the Tokoloshe.
Or like trying to find the Nyami Nyami in the Zambezi River. But yeah, no, I agree.
Yeah, like Loch Ness of Africa. What was also pretty cool though is I found that the legend belongs to the Tonga people primarily, but all the different cultures kind of know about it all along the riverbank. Like I said, Zimbabwe, Zambia, Namibia, and Botswana, they all have their own thing. Because it was actually in Botswana that I got my Nyami Nyami necklace.
Oh wow.
So I don't know if they are just kind of banking off the popularity of it, or the fact that they are actually technically part of the river. It's like the river is part of Botswana. That maybe they also have their own version of the superstition. Seems to be an African legend all around now.
Yeah,
I think it started there, but it's spread.
Yeah, I think the story will travel, and I mean, the more things that happen further down the river, or actually, I mean, if a kid walks in and gets eaten by a crocodile that no one sees, and everyone says, "Well, what happened?" Oh no, this one heard about this Nyami Nyami or whatever they call it.
Yeah.
So, as with the Tokoloshe, I mean, you have these tribes that are, I mean, miles apart, and follow such different like theories and cultures now. I mean, if you compare the Zulus to Xhosas, they hate each other.
Yeah.
I mean, they are so different in their culture, yet they have one common thing, and that's a common little gremlin enemy. So it makes sense that the Nile would be this. Not the Nile. The Zambezi would be the same.
Yeah.
They all talk. I mean,
no, definitely.
Yeah.
And also, I mean, we've just scratched the surface on African legends. There are so many.
Oh, there are so many.
These are just two of the kind of more popular ones, I feel. But there's a lot. Well, I'm sure we'll probably cover this topic again in another episode.
I think these are the. I mean, as South Africans, we probably should know a lot more about.
Oh, definitely. Also, if anyone that is native to South Africa, a lot of people we know, a lot of our friends, listen to us talking about it without their input, they're probably kicking themselves in the back of the head right now about how dumb we are and how misinformed and the nonsense that we're spouting. But this is how we interpret it. This is how we know it.
We have fun spouting nonsense with these microphones every week. But I mean, that also, especially with these superstitions, there's so many different experiences, so many different stories. The origins change, as you say, from country to country. It's still the same idea, but has a different name or different origin, and that's what all these things are about. I mean, the Tokoloshe, it has like 4 or 5 different spellings. It has 2 other names. It's the same creature. It has the same origin. So, yeah, I mean...
There seems to be like a worldwide phenomenon, even in religion. I mean, people have their own, from all over the world, different iterations of a similar story.
Correct. So, and it's taken in a different way, and it's kind of passed on. Again, broken telephone, things change a lot. So, I mean, hey, misinformed or not, like, these are still super cool.
Oh, yeah.
Stories and superstitions, and everything that surrounds them is, like, really interesting. And definitely would love to go into some more African superstitions.
I can't actually think of any off the top of my head, though. And I know there are tons. Like, it's very easy to find if you just a bit of
if you actually just do a little bit of research.
But I haven't thought of any.
No, honestly, growing up, there was nothing ever like prevalent and to the point as
everyone
much.
Spoke about Tokoloshe.
Dude, Tokoloshe, it's everywhere. So doing a little bit of Googling on like African superstitions and all that, and this one article comes up for East Africa. Now, I mean, we covered more of the Southern Hemisphere purely because that's where we're from, and those are the stories that we hear. But a few kind of came up for East Africa, and the first one is bearded goats. I mean, who isn't petrified of bearded goats?
What a myth! What a legend!
And this was in Rwanda, apparently, where there's plenty of goats, let's get real. And they're kind of found all over the place. And so the bearded goats, the superstition is that if women eat them, they will grow facial hair.
Oh, wow.
There's witches and geese. There's
what?
Witches and geese.
Geese like the bird.
Like geese like the bird. Locals believe the resident geese only quack at witches. So, yeah. Virginal sodas. I don't know if I want to go into that.
No, let's say that one for after hours.
Again, Rwanda. Man, what's up with you? Oh, man. It's so hilarious. But it is funny. I mean, in all the cultures we speak about and all that, animals are... Okay, I guess that is actually for everything. All cryptids, all things, it's always based around an animal or a spirit that is in an animal form. Hardly ever do you find like these little superstitions that aren't small gremlins or serpents or whatever.
Yeah, they always seem to be sort of, I don't know, there's so many like little unique kind of, what's the word I'm thinking of? Not soliloquies, that's something stupid, but like very small, I wouldn't say they're myths or anything, but kind of belief systems.
Correct,
that they have, like how I think it's twins are evil.
Yeah, it's twins are evil.
You have to take one of them and bury them in the, I don't know.
Dang.
Yeah,
there's some hectic stuff.
I read that in Things Fall Apart.
Sounds interesting.
If you read that at school.
No.
And then also albinos. They got a thing against albinos.
There's a thing in it's either Central or Northern Africa with albinos. I actually saw a vast documentary on it, and it's really hectic. So basically, albinos are used for medicine.
Yeah.
So sangomas will actually go and capture.
Damn sangomas again.
Yeah, dude, sangomas.
Oh yeah, I meant to mention about the whole Nyami Nyami thing. I find it interesting how the Nyami Nyami, a snake-like creature, is so revered and sort of the protector of the people. Yet in a huge amount of African cultures, snakes are evil and they're petrified of them. So is that Xhosa only, or Zulu only, or is it?
Well, snake as a bad omen is worldwide. I mean, if you think of Adam and Eve,
yes, true.
Snake is always seen as the serpent of bad luck. But I think more than Nyami Nyami, it's the river serpent or the river snake. It is strange. I do agree. It's known so far and wide as bad omen, yet they're using theirs as a good omen.
Found it.
Oh, is it?
I'm right. Mbembe.
Give it to me. Mbembe.
Yeah. Mokele Mbembe. It's a cryptid resembling a dinosaur from the Congo River region. Its name means one who stops the flow of rivers, referring to its size. Basically, if I remember, it looks like a bit of a stegosaurus looking thing.
So a Loch Ness, basically.
Essentially,
yeah.
It's a Loch Ness. But yeah.
Well, even though Loch Ness was like a plesiosaur, but whatever. You know what I mean?
Plesiosaurus, brontosaurus, whatever.
Yeah. Big body, long neck. Get over it.
Badass, long neck.
So that is our take on superstitions and all the crazy, cool, weird things that kind of come up in the cultures that we are subjected to in our country.
Thanks for joining us on this wild ride.
It's been great. And let us know if there are any other weird kind of cool superstitions that you know of, or
especially in your local area. It's more interesting when it's close to home. You know?
Correct. So if you've got anything cool, weird, let us know. We'd love to hear about your stuff and maybe even cover another story. So that's it. You've been great. We've been greater.
Bye.
Cheers.